In the year 2257, Captain Mark Harrington commanded the Intrepid, a nimble reconnaissance vessel of the Earth Federation fleet. The vastness of space stretched endlessly before them as they ventured into the uncharted Valaris sector, a region rumored to be fraught with unknown dangers. On the bridge, the mood was tense, with crew members silently monitoring their stations. Harrington stood by the command console, reviewing the latest sensor data. Beside him, his second-in-command, Lieutenant James Walker, remained vigilant, his eyes scanning the multiple displays. "Anything to report, Lieutenant?" Harrington's voice broke the silence, his tone calm yet expectant. "No signs of activity, Captain. It's quiet. Too quiet, if you ask me," Walker replied, his gaze fixed on the readouts. Just then, the ship's communication officer, Ensign Rick Martinez, chimed in. "Sir, I'm picking up a strange signal. It's unlike anything we've cataloged before." Harrington approached Martinez's station. "Can you identify the source?" Martinez adjusted his controls, his brow furrowed in concentration. "Trying to, Captain. The signal is strong but erratic. It seems to be coming from a nearby system." Harrington considered this. "Route the coordinates to navigation. Let's take a closer look, but keep us at a safe distance. I don't want any surprises." As the Intrepid altered its course, the science officer, Dr. Simon Lee, joined the group. "I've analyzed the signal pattern," Lee reported. "It carries a complex structure that suggests artificial origin. It's possible we've stumbled upon an advanced civilization." Harrington nodded slowly. "Prepare all first contact protocols. However, remain discreet. Until we know more, we must tread carefully." The Intrepid soon approached the source of the signal. What appeared on the main screen took everyone by surprise. A massive armada of sleek, metallic ships, unlike any known human or allied design. "Red alert! Shields up! Prepare for possible hostile engagement," Harrington ordered, his voice echoing through the bridge. The crew sprang into action, their earlier tension transforming into focused urgency. Walker coordinated with the weapons station while Martinez maintained a close watch on communications, ready to broadcast a universal greeting or distress signal if needed. Harrington addressed the crew, his demeanor embodying command. "We don't know if they are friend or foe, but we are here to protect Earth's interests. Stay sharp, follow orders, and keep communications open. We need to be ready for anything." The alien fleet seemed to notice their approach, altering their formation as several ships detached from the main group and moved toward the Intrepid Asterisk. "Captain, they're hailing us," Martinez announced, a hint of surprise in his voice. "On screen," Harrington commanded. The main viewer flickered to life, revealing an alien figure clad in ornate armor, its features distinct yet imposing. The alien spoke in a deep, resonant tone. "Unidentified vessel, you have entered the dominion of the Zorax Empire. State your purpose." Harrington stepped forward, his posture firm. "I am Captain Mark Harrington of the Earth Federation. We are on a peaceful exploration mission and did not intend to trespass. We seek only knowledge and understanding." The alien leader paused, assessing Harrington's words. After a tense moment, it replied, "Your presence here will be reported. Do not advance further. Wait for my command." The communication ended abruptly, leaving the Intrepid's crew in a precarious standoff, unsure of the intentions of this new, potentially hostile empire. Harrington turned to his crew, determination etched across his face. "We hold position. Let's not provoke them, but be ready. We may need to defend ourselves or retreat quickly." As they waited in the shadow of the alien armada, every crew member knew the gravity of their situation. They were possibly on the brink of an interstellar conflict far from home, a situation every spacer feared yet trained for. Harrington's leadership would now be tested as never before. The encounter with the Zorax Armada left a lingering tension among the crew of the Intrepid. As they navigated back to Earth, Captain Harrington and his officers convened in the ship's briefing room to discuss their next steps. Lieutenant Walker initiated the conversation, his voice tinged with concern. "Captain, we need to relay our findings to the Federation Council immediately. The Zorax presence in the Valaris sector poses a significant threat to our colonies and interests." Harrington nodded in agreement. "Agreed, James. But we must tread carefully. The Council may not take kindly to reports of a potential new adversary." Dr. Lee interjected. "We must also consider the political ramifications. Some factions within the Council may see this as an opportunity to bolster military spending, while others may push for diplomatic solutions." Martinez added, "And what about our next move, Captain? Are we to prepare for a potential conflict with the Zorax?" Harrington's brow furrowed as he weighed the options. For now, we will continue our reconnaissance missions, but with heightened vigilance. I will also request a meeting with Admiral Harkin to brief him personally on our encounter. It's imperative that the Federation takes our findings seriously. As they finalized their plans, the Intrepid received a priority communication from Earth. Admiral Harkin's stern visage appeared on the view screen, his voice grave. Captain Harrington, you are ordered to report to Federation headquarters immediately. The Council requests your presence for an emergency session. Harrington exchanged a glance with his officers before acknowledging the order. Understood, Admiral. We will set course for Earth immediately. Upon their arrival at Federation headquarters, Harrington and his officers were escorted to the Council chambers. The atmosphere was tense, with representatives from various member worlds engaged in heated debate. Admiral Harkin greeted them somberly. Captain Harrington, your report has caused quite a stir among the Council. Please, proceed. Harrington recounted their encounter with the Exorax Armada, detailing their advanced technology and hostile demeanor. He emphasized the need for swift action to address the growing threat. Councillor Olin, a staunch advocate for diplomacy, challenged Harrington's assessment. Captain, are you suggesting we abandon decades of peaceful coexistence and resort to war with the Exorax? Surely there must be a diplomatic solution. Harrington remained steadfast. I am not advocating for war, Councillor, but we cannot ignore the danger the Zorax pose. We must be prepared to defend ourselves and our colonies if necessary. After hours of deliberation, the Council reached a tentative decision. They would dispatch a diplomatic envoy to engage with the Exorax Empire while simultaneously increasing military readiness along the frontier. As Harrington and his officers left the chambers, the weight of their responsibilities hung heavy on their shoulders. The fate of humanity rested in their hands, and the uncertain future loomed large before them. Months passed since the encounter with the Exorax Armada, and tensions between the Earth Federation and the alien empire continued to simmer. Captain Harrington, now relegated to overseeing the defense of the remote colony of Farhaven, remained vigilant, knowing the conflict could erupt at any moment. One fateful day, the tranquility of Farhaven was shattered as the colony came under sudden and vicious attack. Zorax warships descended from the skies, unleashing a devastating barrage of plasma fire that laid waste to the colony's defenses. Harrington sprang into action, coordinating the evacuation efforts and rallying his troops to mount a desperate defense. Amidst the chaos, he received a distress signal from Lieutenant Sarah Mitchell, his trusted comrade and former second-in-command aboard the Intrepid. Captain, they're everywhere. We can't hold them back much longer. Mitchell's voice crackled over the comms, filled with urgency and fear. Harrington's heart sank as he realized the gravity of the situation. Farhaven was under siege, and his people were counting on him to lead them to safety. With grim determination, he joined the front lines, fighting alongside his fellow soldiers to repel the invaders. The battle raged on for hours, with neither side willing to relent. The once idyllic colony now lay in ruins, its streets littered with the fallen. Harrington and his troops fought valiantly, but the relentless onslaught of the Exorax seemed unstoppable. In the midst of the chaos, Harrington caught sight of General Karath, the ruthless commander of the Zorax forces, leading the charge. With a fierce roar, Harrington charged forward, determined to confront the alien menace head-on. Their clash was brutal and unforgiving, each blow fueled by years of pent-up anger and determination. Despite his best efforts, Harrington found himself overpowered by Karath's sheer strength and ferocity. As Karath loomed over him, victory within his grasp, Harrington refused to yield. With a surge of adrenaline, he unleashed a desperate counterattack, striking a critical blow that sent the alien general reeling. The tide of battle shifted in that moment, as Harrington's courage and resilience inspired his troops to redouble their efforts. With renewed vigor, they pushed back the Exorax invaders, driving them from Farhaven's battered streets. As the dust settled and the echoes of battle faded, Harrington surveyed the devastation around him. Farhaven may have fallen, but humanity's spirit remained unbroken. And though the scars of war ran deep, they served as a reminder of the sacrifices made in the fight for survival. In the aftermath of the devastating attack on Farhaven, Captain Harrington and a handful of survivors found themselves prisoners aboard a Zorax warship, bound for the heart of the alien empire. Confined to cramped cells, they endured the long journey in grim silence, their minds consumed by thoughts of the loved ones they had lost and the uncertain fate that awaited them. As the ship neared its destination, Harrington knew that escape was their only hope. He gathered his fellow prisoners, a determined glint in his eye, and began to formulate a plan. "We need to find a way to disable the ship's security systems and overpower the guards," Harrington whispered, his voice low but resolute. "Once we're free, we'll make our way to the nearest escape pods and get as far away from here as possible." Lieutenant Mitchell nodded in agreement, her expression mirroring Harrington's steely resolve. "I'll see what I can do about hacking into the ship's mainframe. With any luck, we can disrupt their communications and buy ourselves some time." With their plan in motion, the group bided their time, waiting for the opportune moment to strike. When the ship's sensors detected an unexpected anomaly, chaos erupted among the crew, providing the perfect distraction for Harrington and his comrades to make their move. As alarms blared and klaxons wailed, Harrington and his team sprang into action, overpowering their captors with a combination of brute force and tactical precision. With the guards subdued, they raced through the labyrinthine corridors of the ship, navigating by memory and instinct. Amidst the chaos, Martinez stumbled upon a control panel and quickly set to work disabling the ship's security protocols. "I've got it!" he exclaimed triumphantly as the lights flickered and the doors slid open, granting them access to the escape pods. With their freedom within reach, Harrington and his fellow prisoners rushed to the nearest pod, sealing themselves inside just as the Exorax reinforcements arrived. With a final push of a button, they jettisoned away from the warship, hurtling through the void towards an uncertain future. As they watched the ship fade into the distance, Harrington felt a sense of relief wash over him. They may have escaped captivity, but their journey was far from over. With the fate of humanity hanging in the balance, they would need to muster all their strength and courage to face the challenges that lay ahead. With their daring escape from the clutches of the Exorax, Captain Harrington and his band of survivors found themselves adrift in the vastness of space, their escape pod hurtling towards an unknown destination. As they drifted, their thoughts turned to the uncertain future that lay before them and the daunting task of rallying support against the looming threat of the Zorax Empire. Days turned into weeks as the survivors charted their course through the void, their supplies dwindling with each passing moment. Just when hope seemed all but lost, they received an unexpected transmission, a distress call from a nearby outpost. Upon reaching the outpost, they were greeted by a diverse group of beings from across the galaxy, united in their struggle against the tyranny of the Zorax. Among them was Ambassador Lyra, a diplomat from the peaceful Avian Confederation, and Commander Thrawn, a battle-hardened veteran of the reptilian Drakkar Dominion. Harrington wasted no time in forging an alliance with their newfound allies, recognizing the strength and unity against their common enemy. Together, they pooled their resources and expertise, forming a ragtag coalition of resistance fighters determined to stand against the might of the Zorax Empire. As they prepared for the coming conflict, Harrington found himself forming unlikely bonds with his alien counterparts, each member of the coalition bringing their own unique skills and perspectives to the table. Through shared trials and tribulations, they forged a camaraderie that transcended species and borders, united in their shared goal of defending their homes and loved ones from the Zorax threat. With their alliance solidified, Harrington and his newfound allies set their sights on rallying support from other civilizations across the galaxy, knowing that only by standing together could they hope to emerge victorious against the might of the Zorax Empire. But as they embarked on their mission, they knew that the road ahead would be fraught with danger and uncertainty, and that the true test of their resolve was yet to come. As the coalition of resistance fighters mobilized their forces and prepared for the coming conflict, Captain Harrington and his fellow commanders convened aboard the flagship of the Earth Federation fleet, the Resolute. The tension in the war room was palpable as they discussed their strategy for the impending battle. Ambassador Lyra, representing the Avian Confederation, voiced her concerns. "The Zorax Empire possesses a formidable fleet, Captain Harrington. We must be prepared for a protracted engagement if we are to have any hope of victory." Harrington nodded grimly, his gaze fixed on the tactical display before him. "Agreed, Ambassador. We cannot afford to underestimate the Exorax. We must use every advantage at our disposal to turn the tide in our favor." Commander Thrawn, representing the Drakkar Dominion, spoke up next. "Our scouts have reported increased Zorax activity along the outer rim. It is only a matter of time before they launch a full-scale assault on Earth." Harrington clenched his jaw, his resolve hardening. "Then we must be ready. The fate of humanity hangs in the balance, and we will not let our home fall into the hands of the Zorax." Lieutenant Mitchell, ever the voice of reason, interjected. Captain, our fleet is ready to engage the enemy, but we must also consider the civilians on Earth. We cannot allow collateral damage to spiral out of control. Harrington nodded, acknowledging the gravity of the situation. Understood, Lieutenant. We will do everything in our power to minimize civilian casualties. But make no mistake, we will fight with everything we have to protect our planet and our people. With their strategy finalized, the coalition of resistance fighters prepared to face the might of the Exorax Empire head-on. As the Resolute led the charge into battle, Harrington's heart swelled with pride at the sight of humanity and their newfound allies standing united against a common foe. The battle that followed was fierce and unforgiving, with both sides trading devastating blows in a desperate struggle for supremacy. But through sheer determination and unwavering resolve, Harrington and his comrades pushed back the Exorax forces, inch by inch, until victory was within their grasp. As the dust settled and the smoke cleared, Harrington surveyed the aftermath of the battle. Earth had been saved, but at a great cost. The scars of war ran deep, and the road to recovery would be long and arduous. But as he looked out upon the faces of his fellow soldiers, Harrington knew that humanity's spirit could never be broken, and that as long as they stood together, they would always triumph in the face of adversity. In the wake of their hard-fought victory over the Zorax forces at Earth, Captain Harrington and his allies found themselves at a critical juncture in the war against the alien empire. With the momentum of their recent success behind them, they set their sights on liberating the human colonies that had fallen under Zorax control. As the Resolute led the coalition fleet on a daring campaign across the galaxy, Harrington grappled with the weight of his newfound responsibility. The lives of millions hung in the balance, and the decisions he made would shape the course of the war for years to come. Amidst the chaos of battle and the devastation of war, Harrington found solace in the bonds he had forged with his fellow soldiers. Lieutenant Mitchell, ever steadfast at his side, provided unwavering support and counsel, her presence a beacon of hope in the darkest of times. But as the campaign wore on and the casualties mounted, Harrington's resolve began to waver. The cost of victory weighed heavily on his conscience, and he found himself questioning the morality of their cause. It was during a particularly brutal engagement on the planet of New Terra that Harrington reached his breaking point. The Zorax had unleashed a devastating new weapon, laying waste to entire cities and leaving nothing but destruction in its wake. As Harrington surveyed the devastation from the bridge of the Resolute, a sense of despair washed over him. How many more lives would be lost in the name of victory? How could he justify the sacrifices they were making? It was then that Lieutenant Mitchell approached him, her eyes filled with concern. "Captain, we need you now more than ever. The crew looks to you for guidance and leadership. We cannot afford to falter in the face of adversity." Harrington met her gaze, his resolve hardening once more. "You're right, Lieutenant. We cannot let fear and doubt cloud our judgment. We must press on, for the sake of all those who have sacrificed so much in this war." With renewed determination, Harrington rallied his troops and led them back into battle, determined to turn the tide against the Zorax once and for all. Though the road ahead would be fraught with peril and uncertainty, he knew that as long as they stood together, they would emerge victorious in the end. As the war against the Exorax Empire raged on, Captain Harrington and his allies found themselves locked in a desperate struggle for survival. With each passing day, the Zorax forces grew more relentless, their attacks more devastating than ever before. But despite the overwhelming odds stacked against them, Harrington refused to back down. With the courage and determination of a true leader, he rallied his troops and led them into battle, fighting tooth and nail to defend humanity and their way of life. As the conflict reached its climax, the Resolute and its coalition fleet found themselves facing off against the full might of the Zorax Armada. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance as the two sides clashed in a final, epic showdown. The battle was fierce and unforgiving, with both sides unleashing everything they had in a desperate bid for victory. Ships exploded in fiery bursts of light, and the cries of the fallen echoed through the void as the conflict raged on. Amidst the chaos, Harrington stood at the helm of the Resolute, his eyes fixed on the enemy fleet before him. With every fiber of his being, he poured his heart and soul into the fight, determined to see humanity triumph over the forces of darkness. But as the battle raged on, it became clear that victory would not come easily. The Zorax were relentless in their onslaught, their numbers seemingly endless as they pressed forward with unwavering determination. In a moment of desperation, Harrington made the decision to launch a daring counterattack, leading his fleet in a bold maneuver that caught the Zorax off guard. The tide of battle turned in an instant as the coalition forces gained the upper hand, driving the enemy back with renewed vigor. But just as victory seemed within their grasp, disaster struck. A massive Zorax warship emerged from the depths of space, its weapons primed and ready to unleash devastation upon the coalition fleet. With no other choice, Harrington ordered his ships to stand their ground, preparing to make their final stand against the overwhelming might of the Zorax Empire. The fate of humanity hung in the balance as the two sides clashed in a battle that would decide the outcome of the war once and for all. As explosions rocked the Resolute and the screams of the fallen echoed through the void, Harrington fought on with every ounce of strength he had left. Though the odds were stacked against them, he refused to give up hope, knowing that the fate of the galaxy depended on their courage and resolve. And then, in a blinding flash of light, it was over. The Zorax warship lay crippled and defeated, its forces scattered to the winds as the coalition fleet emerged victorious from the chaos of battle. As the smoke cleared and the dust settled, Harrington surveyed the wreckage around him, a sense of profound relief washing over him. Though the cost of victory had been high, humanity had emerged triumphant in the face of adversity, proving once and for all that they would not be cowed by the forces of darkness. And as Harrington looked out upon the stars, he knew that the fight was far from over. But as long as there were those willing to stand up and fight for what was right, humanity would always endure, shining brightly as a beacon of hope in the darkest of times.